Welcome to a special edition of the Emerging Civil War podcast. I'm Chris Mikowski, and I am pleased to introduce to you my new best friend, Josh Frye. Josh, how are you today?
Good morning, Chris. Well, whatever time of the day it is and whatever parts of the world it is, everything is going great. What about you?
Fantastic, thanks. Although it looks like you're broadcasting live from a dungeon today.
That's Fort Morgan. I wish I was actually at Fort Morgan right now. So
Fort Morgan down on Mobile Bay, one of the major forts that was guarding it. I think it was the second or third most expensive third system fort that was built in the coastal defenses, and it is a magnificent place to visit.
it is. I've spent a lot of time at Fort Morgan, and that place never ceases to amaze me with all the history that's occurred there. Civil War, Revolutionary War, or not Revolution, but 1812 stuff rather, and then Spanish American War, World War One, World War Two. So the place is pretty cool.
Ah, wow. Well, now you're not actually in the basement of Fort Morgan, although it looks like it. Josh is our new executive administrator at Emerging Civil War, and I wanted to take the opportunity to introduce him to our listeners and viewers, and give him the chance to say hello a little bit, and give you all the chance to get to know him. This is a big step for Emerging Civil War to hire an employee, which we've never done before, and we just have so many different bits of infrastructure and administration to do that we just needed to help us get our arms around it. So, Josh, that is your either fine or poor fate to have to embrace. So, congratulations.
Oh, thank you guys, and thank you for the opportunity. I mean, for me, working for Emergent Civil War is really, I mean, and when I say this, I mean, it is the reality. For me, it's a dream come true. You know, you grow up loving history, and then Emergent Civil War, I've been a big fan of since it was first created, and it's just become a backbone for any Civil War enthusiast or Civil War historian. I mean, the content that is put out by Emerging Civil War and its historians is absolutely phenomenal. And no one could really, in my opinion, top the information that is just gathered from these awesome historians. I mean, where else where you have the chance to work with people like you and Dan Davis and William Lee White and some of these other just really well-known historians. So it's a neat opportunity. I'm looking forward to it.
See, now is it any wonder we hired him with flattery like that? It's incredible. Now, the other day, Josh said something, and it made me chuckle. He said, "I've wanted to work with ECW my whole life," and I was like, "I didn't realize you were only 12." That was.
Well, and what I mean by that is, I guess I have to rewind it to my interest in history and where I got started. And my interest, I was 7 years old. Like everyone else, the movie Gettysburg kind of grabbed my attention, at that time, and I was already interested in history anyway. And once I watched Gettysburg, I mean, it was a downhill spiral from there into the abyss of the American Civil War, and I become lost in it. And I had flashcards when I was 7 years old. I could name all the battles by heart from those, and Civil War Times was what I always had in my hand. And I was just a weird, nerdy kid addicted to the Civil War, and it never stopped. And then when I got to be an adult, I always knew I wanted to be a historian or I wanted to pursue my career in history. And well, then emerging Civil War come about. And when I say I always, wanted to be a part of emerging Civil War my entire life, I mean, it was an opportunity and something that needed to be created that I was hoping would be created for my entire life. So when it come about, I was, you know, from day one, I was hooked on the emerging Civil War. So it has been a entire life pursuit to get to this point for me. So it's pretty cool. I've not, trying to kiss up too much here. I don't want to give you too big of a head here, but at night
Look, it's
I would
getting
fall
bigger and
asleep.
bigger and bigger.
But at night, I will fall asleep when I was a kid and growing up, and I still do to this day. I'll fall asleep with a book in my hand from Gary Edelman or you or Chris White or um, you know James McPherson or some of the Gary Gallagher. I mean, the list just keeps going on and on and on. How can we forget Ed Beers? Um, so I mean the list of that just keeps going on and on and on as I progress through life, and it's just pretty cool to be in a position now to not only know you guys but work with you guys, learn from you guys. So it is a lifelong dream kind of coming to fruition for myself.
The blush is about to come off the rose, my friend. The blush is about to. Now, you said a second ago, the downward spiral into the abyss of the Civil War. And that is certainly how my
Oh yeah.
wife would characterize it. Although I think now that you're among friends, you can talk about the upward lift of to the American Civil War.
Yeah,
Now,
the wife is not happy about the books on the shelf. I guarantee you that much.
welcome to that club. So, and tell me a little bit, you do a lot of traveling for your own work, which is History Savior. We'll have you talk about that in just a second. And so, there is kind of like a little lifestyle that goes with cuddling up with books and knowing these historians, either by reputation or through that sense of community that we have. Um, Tell me what it's like to kind of, coax your wife into that environment with you.
Oh well, it is not as easy as it sounds. I promise you. She she doesn't really understand it, but she supports it, which is the biggest thing. She knows what my passion is, and she fully supports it. So she's on board with it 100%. But she gets tired of being drugged to battlefields all over the country. I will say that for me, looking at Gettysburg was the highlight of my life when I first experienced Gettysburg for the first time. For her, it was just a field, and that is quote in her words, "It's just a field. Why are you crying?" So
But it's neat to have that profound connection to a place that can move you so significantly that you can have those sorts of emotions because you know what happened there. It's not just a field; it's the history, the story of those who came before across that field that makes such a difference. So, tell me a little bit about your work with History Savior, because as someone who was passionate about the field of history and doing history, you'd made some opportunities for yourself, which is one of the things that really impressed us about you when we first met you.
so I live just north of Mobile, Alabama, um, in the very deep South, and we do have Fort Morgan, the sites of the Battle of the Mobile Bay here, and Blakely. So History Saver kind of started as a backbone of that. When I first started the channel, I was just looking for a way to help teach history to the younger generation and do something loved. I like film. I have a background in film, and YouTube just offered a platform to be able to do some history content for myself and hopefully get some others interested in history. And so that is really what started History Saver, and it didn't start as to what you guys know it as now. If anyone watches the channel, now I travel all over the country. But it first started out as me trying. And God, please don't go back and watch these videos, please. But when I first got started, it was terrible. I would get military rations from all over the world, and I would try them as a way to tie in, military history with rationing, and see how the rations evolved over time into what we have them today. And there were some interesting things that come about doing that, and I look back on those videos now and I just kind of squirm in my seat. I mean, there is a community, believe it or not, out there that loves military rationing, but it's not what I wanted to do. And I finally woke up one morning and I said, this channel could be something. I could do something good with it. And I want to travel and see all of these places I've always dreamed about seeing or read about. I'm going to do it. And well, it's to where I am now.
So, and just to make clear, so if folks do want to go and see these videos you just told us not to, how do we find your YouTube channel?
No, no, please go watch the channel. Just anything more previous than 5 years ago. You might want to go back
That's a
5 years.
that's a different Josh Fry. Hmm.
Yeah, oh, it's very different from what it is today. But yeah, you can find me on YouTube at History Saver 1941, and it's a fun time. I really enjoy doing it. Really enjoy learning history. And the thing is when I'm doing this channel, I'm learning history along with everyone else, and that is what keeps me kind of going. Is I enjoy learning new things. I enjoy being told I'm wrong, and I like to learn how to do something, better or learn information I didn't know. So it's a lot of fun in being able to do that.
Now that also ties in with your professional background, which is deeply involved in film production. Tell us a little bit about some of your work there.
So yeah, I have been involved in the film production industry for a long time, several years since 2007, I believe is when it, if I remember right, is when it first started and for me. And I started on a film called Heaven's Fall based on the Scottsboro trials in the 1930s. Um, but uh, that kind of let me know that I was interested in film. And it also kind of put it in my head that I can do something with my history career and through film. This is a good way to teach others as technology advances, and we now have YouTube, and the days of satellite TV and cable TV are long gone, and we have this platform at our fingertips right in front of us. This video being an example now, as people are watching this, that we can teach history to others. So that inspired me to get into film production on more of a full-time basis. I went on. I've worked with some things with National Geographic, the Smithsonian Channel. Um, uh, I also have worked with the Hallmark Channel, Lionsgate Films. I've been in a couple of big movies. One really, really major theatrical production there that last year was one of the highest ranking films out there, Jesus Revolution. And it's a lot of fun, but at the same time, being involved in those major productions, I found out this isn't quite what I want to do. I don't like movies. I mean, these are 15, 16-hour days. Hats off to people who are in, making these big Hollywood films because they work. But that wasn't for me. I didn't enjoy the content that I was working on, and I want to do history stuff, history content. So that is how my film career kind of evolved. There was around basically you live and learn, you just learn what you like and what you don't. And it's evolved into this channel now, which is really neat to kind of plug that into that.
You talk about kind of how we have these technologies that allow us to deliver and create content in new ways. Once upon a time, we all just had our books and we had, Civil War Times magazine, and that's kind of how
Yeah.
we were immersed. And now digital technology allows so many people to just take their phone out of their back pocket and create content. From your perspective, kind of what's the difference between like being a content creator and being an actual historian, or is there a difference?
So there is one thing to go to a place like I'm doing on the channel here and showing the place off. And take for instance Fort Morgan. I could take anyone could take a camera, go to Fort Morgan, and say, "Hey, here's Fort Morgan. There was a Civil War battle here in '64, and so on and so on and so on." But it's another thing to be able to go into this place, have did your research, kind of know a little bit about what's going on with the goal of teaching people not only, through showing them the place, but also what happened there. And then you're open as well to learning new things yourself. But um, it is really the historian aspect comes into play when you're able to go to these sites and share the information rather than just show the site off and actually do your research and learn a little bit about what you're looking at. So for me, that's the part I enjoy is the research before I go to places and learning about it. That way, I can relay the information so that someone actually learns something about a place rather than learning about seeing the place. And that's I think pretty much what I try to do here.
Yeah, and I put you on the spot with that too. And to me, I think that showing a place off is super important. One of the things I think is a privilege is that I get to go to places that most people don't get to go, or gosh, I've always wanted to go there and I don't. And so, the only way they might be able to see it is through a video or through a piece that we do on the blog, for instance. So I think that component is super, super important. But I agree with you in that sort of having that knowledge level and that ability to talk context, the ability to relate it in a way that becomes useful to a viewer. Those are, I think, super important skills that go beyond just like, hey, look here, I'm showing off this, well, look at which a lot of yahoos can do. Um, so, how do you then compete in a digital environment that has so much noise and activity and just stuff going on because everybody can do it?
I don't try to,
Okay.
honestly. Um, just flat out, I don't try to. I do this because I enjoy doing it and because I learn along with everyone else as I'm doing it. If I worried about how many viewers I was getting or how many subscribers I was getting, I wouldn't enjoy what I'm doing. And, you know, I do it because I love to do it. So competing in this digital, world where anyone can go out there with a camera, I mean, I just I don't really set my mind on that. I just sort of go out there, do it, and I enjoy doing it. If no one watched, I would still do it. And my channel is not big. I am nobody compared to some of these other guys, but that's okay. I'm not trying to be. I'm just trying to do what I love, and maybe someone would take something away from that and learn something at the same time too, along with me. So that's pretty much how I go into the thinking about it.
Yeah. That reminds me very much, sort of kind of how we approach things here at ECW too, is that I'm reminded of Ulysses S. Grant in the second day of the Battle of the Wilderness, and he's sitting there and he's whittling, and all of a sudden the Confederate guns sound like they're getting closer and closer, and headquarters staff starts freaking out and like, oh, maybe we ought to pick up and move headquarters. Blah, blah. And Grant finally snaps and he says, to listen to you tell it, you think that Robert E. Lee is going to hit us simultaneously on both flanks and do a double somersault and land in our rear. Um, I want you to start worrying about what we're going to do to Lee, not what he's going to do to us. And to me, that really resonates strongly in that, like, let's just worry about what we're doing, what we're going to do. Let's stop worrying about the other guy and let's worry about what we're going to do. And if we're doing what we need to do, everything will fall in place.
That is extremely true. Like anything in life, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, people are going to see that. They're going to read off of that. They're going to feel that negativity, coming off of you. And you're not going to do a good job anyway at what you're doing. So why not quit worrying about what the outcome of doing it is and just do it? Go for what you love and, set your goals high and do it. And that's kind of how I have learned to approach every day. I wasn't always like that. I would fail, get down on myself, but that's who cares? You're the only person that you have to deal with that. So just push forward and quit worrying about everybody else. And
Great
once you
advice. I
do,
love that. I love that empowering message.
yeah, I mean, well, it's true. I used to be honestly a very negative person, with some of the things I had that happened to me in the past and personal issues. And, you know, partly it was because of my wife. She said, quit worrying about the outcomes, quit worrying about the what ifs, what people say. Just go do what you love and quit worrying about everyone else. So, once I kind of, and I'm still doing that now. And, once you do that, you kind of can move forward. And, so who cares? I don't care if anyone watches, I'm doing it because I like doing it and I'm learning history. History is one of these things that's always been my outlet of everything negative going on around me, so it's a comfort place. And that is where I'm happiest. And so that is where I go. So if it makes me happy and it's my comfort place, then why not immerse myself? So that's kind of where I am now and everything.
Your wife sounds like a wise woman, my friend, and just proves that fact behind every good man is a fantastic woman. I,
Yeah, yeah, she is. She's awesome.
yeah, I enjoy that same benefit myself with Jennifer. So you're immersing yourself in your happy place by being in the dungeons there at Fort Morgan, which is warm and fuzzy. Being in Alabama, I just discovered this a couple years ago because I never got to spend much time in Alabama. But like you've got incredible Civil War history around you. Tell us a little bit more about your experiences at Fort Morgan, your experiences at Blakely State Park, and your interactions with the history down there.
Oh yeah. So the Civil War history here is immensely just incredible. We have so many rivers that span through Alabama and waterways that span through Alabama. Mobile was probably one of the most important ports, not only during the Civil War, but also pre-Civil War times. And then you have just this mesh pot of all these time periods coming together. And with the American Civil War, you've got places like Fort Marinkus in Pensacola, Florida, that's nearby as well. Fort Pickens in Pensacola, Florida. You got Fort Gaines. You got Fort Morgan. You got Blakely. You got Selma. You got Montgomery, which was the first, Confederacy capital. And there's so much history here to be explored, and it isn't really preserved, I would say, like it is in Virginia or other places. But it's hidden spots that people often forget about. They think about the Alabama Gulf Coast and they think about the beach. Well, look at it on that beach. You have two, fortifications that played a vital part in history, and it's really neat to be able to go there and see these places for yourself. Blakely, Mike Bunn out at Blakely is a good friend, and he is the director of Blakely State Park. And it is the largest Civil War battle in Alabama. And it is a very, very neat site that is often just overlooked. I mean, you have miles upon miles of earthen fortifications here from both the Union and the Confederate armies who sieged at Spanish Fort in that area. And then you have the story of the United States colored troops who's going to charge across the field into the redoubts there. And it's such a cool story because there were so many medals of honor awarded at that battle. And it's just something that a lot of people forget about. Blakely, the Battle of Blakely would be the last on probably anyone's mind when they're asked about one of their favorite last conflicts of the American Civil War. Well, the American Civil War is actually going to be fought here after the surrender of Appomattox. And that is a fact that people often overlook as well. So there's just a lot of cool history here. Plus, we have Unibrow General here, General Braxton Bragg, buried in Mobile. So there's all kinds of cool places. And then the CSS Hunley story. I mean, the list just goes on and on here.
Yeah, and people hear you say that, and they're like, "Oh, the Hunley. Wait, wasn't that Charleston?" But they build it down there in Mobile before they ship it up to South Carolina. A site that I think gets overlooked, and there's not a lot there, but the surrender site is Citronelle.
Mm.
One of again, the post Appomattox surrender sites is not too far away from Mobile.
No, no, it's really, really close to me where I am now. Actually, I think it was last weekend or the weekend before they actually commemorated that surrender ceremony of the troops there. And this occurs after Appomattox, and people just do you ever hear the surrender at Citronelle, Alabama mentioned anywhere? You do not. And it's cool to find these little hidden gems like that.
Fantastic. So, Josh, what else do we need to know about you as you embark on your emerging Civil War career?
Well, I'm glad to be here. That is the number one thing. I'm thankful and blessed to be here and be a part of this awesome team and learn from you guys. And kind of be here, helping you guys make Emergent Civil War better again. And no, I wouldn't say better again, but I was trying to cleverly word that there. But make Emergent Civil War even greater than what it already is. I mean, it's an organization I really believe in and I'm highly supportive of. And yeah, it's going to be fun and I'm looking forward to it. As far as what you need to know about me, I really don't know. I'm not good at talking about myself. So um I yeah, I don't really know.
Well, we look forward to working with you, Josh. Now, one of my mentors, Greg Mertz, who was the supervisor historian at Fredericksburg and Spotsylvania Military Park, I always described Greg as like the best historian you've never heard of because he, got into the field because he loved history, and then as he worked his way up and became more of a manager, he got farther away from the battlefields. So anytime we could get him out onto the battlefield, it was just marvelous to see because he was so excited and so enlivened, and he just gives wonderful programs. But then he would kind of get sent back to his desk and the mounds of paperwork. And he told me one day, he's like, "Yeah, all this administrivia I have to do," and that will be your job with Emerging Civil War is the administrivia. And it's
I
one of the
enjoy it
greatest
too. So
words ever.
I enjoy it too. I'm looking forward to actually doing it. I've already been on the website, working with you a little bit and Sarah K a little bit on the website and, looking at it. I actually enjoy that part. I mean, it's not for everybody. I mean, not everyone would say that, but you know, it's it's working towards a goal of making the organization better and freeing you guys up so you guys can keep producing the awesome content that you do. And as a fan, I want to see that for myself. So being able to help you go out, and nudge you out on the battlefield that you know a lot more about than I do, is a good thing. So it's just part of it, and it's part of the working your way towards you know your goal one day, and it's just a part that has to be done. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to do it.
I tell people, like we get involved with this because we love history, not because we love to write press releases or that we love to schedule posts or that sort of stuff. But Josh, I say this in all sincerity. Just we're super proud to have you with us, super pleased to have you with us, and really looking forward to working with you as a member of the emerging Civil War team. So thanks for all you're bringing to us and all you're going to help us do.
Thank you guys for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to it, and let's keep teaching history to others, shall we?
Let's do it. Let's do it. You'll have the chance to meet Josh in person if you're coming to the Emerging Civil War Symposium in August. He will be there too, shaking hands and kissing babies. And we look forward to the chance to have him as part of this community and for you to have the chance to meet him. Josh, thanks for being with us today.
All right, thank you, Chris.
I'm Chris Mikowski for the Emerging Civil War Podcast. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you online and on the battlefield.